But to abolish slavery at this moment would be to simultaneously abolish the United States of America.
That is not a
The
foregone.
Union would not survive.
You cannot know that for sure.
You will allow that I'm something of an expert? That my studied opinion on this matter is worth your full consideration?
I do.
It is not that I do not hate slavery. I do, wholeheartedly. But I love this country as wholeheartedly. Even more so. I love what it is and what it may become. I cannot bring myself to be any part of rending it, wounding it, or tearing it asunder. And while I have no incontrovertible evidence that abolishing slavery would end this country as we know it,
then so be it.
Excuse me?
If ending slavery ends this country as we know it, then so be it.
Well now.
This country, if it does not put its house in order, is not worth saving.
Mr. Douglas, I must say...
No, I'm sincerely sorry, Mr. Adams, but I must say, I have no desire to be offensive or unnecessarily inflammatory, but I beg you to open up your mind and your heart to the possibility that I am right. Now, I would be gentler and more circumspect if what I had to say was not so urgent. And I have found that while polite urgings and obsequious pleadings prompts all leading citizens to praise me lavishly for my eloquence and equanimity, these tactics do absolutely nothing to alleviate the urgent, ungodly suffering that untold millions must endure every single day.
I am far from indifferent to the plight of the slaves. I'm doing what I can.
But I'm asking you to do more. I'm asking you to do more than you have, more than you think you can even. That's why I'm here, Mr. Adams. It is a painfully simple request. Do more. Do all that you can on our behalf. Then, if at all possible, do more. Do all that you can imagine doing. Your voice, lifted in full support of the abolition of slavery, would mean a great deal to those of your father's ilk. Men of grand passions, albeit limited imaginations. I swear on all that is holy, if they could spend a single day on a plantation in Virginia or Georgia or anywhere in this inconsistent country, if they could look out of the eyes of the abject enslavement, enforced ignorance, generational hopelessness, and perpetual fear of continual punishment brought about by no sin, by no crime, by no act at all except that of being born into slavery.
The suffering of your people is an abomination.
Are they not your people as well?
I'm sorry?
Well, as a Christian of true faith, I would expect you believe that we are all God's children. That we are all, after all, human beings. Is that not so?
It is.
Then I propose a simple exercise, an imaginary proposition, if you'll indulge me.
Very well.
I propose you choose ignorance. Profound ignorance.
A growing American pastime, I'm afraid.
But not your typical ignorance. A very particular type of ignorance. Ignorance of who you were going to be when you were born. Imagine there was a moment before your immortal soul was placed in your body. A moment before your parents were your parents. When nothing was known, nothing assured. When you had no guarantees of future comforts or safety or privilege. When you might be any sex, any nationality, any race. 1 in 4 people are enslaved in this country, Mr. Adams. How do you feel about taking your chances? And how about your grandchildren?
That is a compelling argument, Mr. Douglas.
We have tried to persuade. We have tried logic and rhetoric. We have tried fire and brimstone and the most heartfelt recriminations. But still, most men's imaginations will not allow them to truly identify with the sufferings of others. particularly others who are quite different from themselves. And the more different and other and alien they are, the harder it is, it seems, to truly empathize. They will not see what it is too far inconvenient to see.
I wish I could disagree with your sad insight.
So do I. But you cannot. This is the disease that I mentioned. If those people in power could truly imagine living the life of those who their policies doomed to daily despair, desperation, and degradation, the world would change forever. It would have to. But shockingly, it cannot.
Or will not.
Precisely so. But imagine, Mr. Adams, just imagine if instead of seeing this every morning, you saw this. Just imagine if the roles were reversed. And if that were the case, Mr. Adams, if you were fighting for your own life and those of your children and their children and their children, then by God, I believe you'd proudly declare yourself not only an abolitionist, but a moral arsonist. And be not only willing, but eager to burn this country to the ground if it did not change the way it was treating yourself, your family, or those you loved. Can you honestly say that I am wrong, Mr. Adams?
No. No, I cannot.
Do more, Mr. Adams. Please. Do more.